Firstly, thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking your time out and joining us. Can we have another big round of applause for them? My first question, how has tech recruitment changed over the last 5 years?
Take a stab at it.
Whoever wants to take a shot at it, yeah.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. Brilliant. Tech hiring is like a Gangs of Wasseypur movie at this point in time, right? Like any masala movie, there is love, there is heartbreak, there is money, there is guns, and there is a lot of abuse. That's exactly the summary of tech hiring at this point in time. And how has it changed? 2019 to 20, it was about I am in a conditioning moment with pandemic. I don't know how to hire, when to hire. My playbooks are now dust, toilet paper at best. And from 2020 to 21, I was learning how decentralizing works, where the pockets of talent were clearly defined. And now I'm identifying new pockets. So tier 1 to tier 2, tier 2 to tier 3, and then new playbooks are being defined. 22 to 23 is a very interesting move. And that is, now we need to have fungibility. We are looking at processes that actually calculate tangible impact on the ecosystem and more. Now, over that period, something brilliant happened. We became more stupid. We figured nothing in between. We created biases. We took half-baked technology. We relied too much on algorithms. And we forgot what actually tech hiring was all about, what true tech hiring was all about. It was to hire talent that can solve a problem. 80% of the leaders want that. No one is actually going for it. And then you have a bunch of resumes, 45%, actually it's 67%, just HackerRank and job-wide data of how many people actually fake. But we initiated that. You know why? Because algorithm says if you stuff it with keywords, that is when you would be shortlisted. That's the sin that we have created. If our recruiters don't understand technology, and then we expect them to hire better, what on earth are we talking about?
Sure.
So here's the bridge, insanity and stupidity. That's where we stand at this point in time. We are not woke, we want to be woke.
Maybe
Interesting.
I'll provide a tech point of view to it.
4 shots have been fired, yes, Ramesh.
See, last 5 years definitely has been there are different phases, as you mentioned it, 2018, 19, and 20, 21 is different, 22 is very different. I'll take it at 3 levels. First thing is industry, from an employer perspective and employee perspective, right? So, industry for sure, it was a good period for startups. A lot of startups have come out in 2018, 19. Good amount of supply of talent pool, and there is good amount of demand. We're all happy. 2020, nobody was hiring, so there's a lot of demand. Like in general, there's a lot of supply, but demand was less. But suddenly there is a huge rush of capital as well that has come in, and many startups got funded, and everybody wanted to innovate faster. That is where 2 things have happened. Everybody wanted to hire, and they wanted to produce results faster as well. That's where the hiring just not required anybody but the best talent, right? That's where the asymmetry has come in. And most of the 2022, right, I think all of you also might have witnessed, from an employer perspective, hiring was tough. At the same time, during these 5 years, one interesting observation was a typical notion of HD1, HD2, HD3 has completely vanished, to be honest. Because back in my Adobe days, maybe 2011 and 2014, right, HD1 does this, HD2 does maybe bigger problems, HD3 architects. But as and when abstractions have become better, right, and just imagine, how many of you started off your career with microservices? Handful, right? So, and microservices were not even there for many people who started before 2014 or anything, right? Yeah. And Delta Lake as a thing that we are talking about data platforms right now didn't exist before 2019, right? So Data Lake was a norm. And that way, technologies have become more and more complex. At the same time, abstractions have come, and web application development as a process has completely differed, which, let us say, most of the people might have started microservices, but what is a monolith, many people might not even comprehend it, right? So that is where we have come up to. So what led to is that whatever we are expecting from HD3 previously, right now a similar kind of business, like overall outcome or technology outcome we are expecting from even HD2s or HD1s, and overall barrier has gone. And recently I was talking to one of the founder of one startup. He was 4 years experience, and he was able to run a 40-member team, and then he is able to debate on a lot of technology. That's the kind of opportunities that were not there before, which have come up. And many people are able to run on those opportunities and improve themselves. At the same time, that was a minority, right? So, and as an employer, we wanted that to be majority. That's where the talent gap has emerged, and which we need to solve for sure at this point of time.
Sure. Sunil?
Cool. Yeah, I'll give you a slightly different perspective of, from a corporate standpoint. I work very closely with the startup ecosystem as well as corporate, and one thing that we have realized is, I think at the corporate, once you reach a critical kind of a mass and we are looking at hiring at scale, I think it really breaks down the system and we really slow it down. And now we are trying to act and behave like a startup and get that agility back, right? Otherwise, if you look at very large organization, typically I think the numbers that you gave I'm not surprised at all. In my own team, sometimes it's taken even close to around 10 months for hiring, right? And fundamentally what is happening out here is no one is really spending time to write the right kind of a JD. It's more of a cut and paste. I think when you clearly know that this is what you really want, I think it can't be a generic kind of a template. You have to be very clear on what you want, and you have to spend that kind of a time as a hiring manager in order to define it, right? And then I think the process and everything else will be much more faster. So we are trying to behave like a startup now and throw all the process out of the system and make it as simpler. If you look at Amazon and Google, it used to be 8. When I interviewed at Google way back in 2012, I remember going through 9 rounds of interview, and now it's just 4. At Amazon, it used to be 7 or 8, now it's 5, right? And it used to be at different stages. It used to stretch for 3 to 4 months, and now we are able to compress back everything within a week's time, right? So there are a lot of positive changes which we are trying to mimic a startup and try to be as agile as possible.
Sure. Very interesting. You said JDs are probably not in terms of what it should be. I'll go to the audience. How many of you agree that JDs are somewhere not a real description of the actual job?
100%.
That's almost 90% of the audience. Why is it that the JD, I think we're going wrong in the very first part of the hiring process? So
my take is very simple. I think essentially this is the workflow that you operate with in a corporate ecosystem, right? Be it at any stage and scale. And I'll keep away Google, Microsoft, and Amazon a little bit away because their processes are a little more refined, and I'll get to that a little later. Here's what it happens. There's a manager who has had a terrible meeting with his boss, wakes up and says, boss, aaj to ye faadna hai. Mere ko ye banda chahiye. Right? That's how it works. And then that translates into 3 buzzwords, 2 attributes, and then someone has to craft the JD. Now, every other guy in this particular room, and assume this is techies, let's remove that, assume this was full of HRs out there. They have become woke, pseudo, that's the quote. And quote-worthy material is, everyone is a ChatGPT expert today. Everyone. Sab Bhagwan hai. Sabko lagta wahi Ganesh guy tunde, right? and the beauty is, they will write this garbage of, give me a JD of a Java developer with 5 years experience, these are the things that I need, and what it spits out is absolutely, in sync with the garbage that you put in. The gap here is no one actually put in the context. You should pass the context first. If you're not passing the context, how are you even able to get a meaningful job description out of it? Now, you may blame this on one side to the recruiters. Great job. Here's the second part of the problem statement. It's very easy for the system to say that the recruiters are ill-equipped to write job description. They should be. We are not freaking engineers. Why should we write the JD? Why didn't the manager put the skin and sign the dotted line and just write a better job description? Right? It's very easy to pass off the baton and say, hey, you know what? This guy sucks. This JD sucks. What do you do about it? Nothing. Right? That's the reality out here. So that's part 1. Part 2, we love copy paste. Amazon ने JD लिखा भाई फाड़ तो होगा ही. क्यों किसने बोला भाई? 2 old monk मार के लिखा वो. Right.
Sunil was tempted to answer back.
I'll take him offline.
He was like, नहीं वो 3 था.
So एक वो हुआ. दूसरा, people wake up and they see, oh, Amazon JD, let me copy that, let me strip up the basics, right? People who don't know, a JD needs to be scored well to rank well on algorithms like LinkedIn. So there is a salutation, there is a meet, there is skills, there is requisite, there is prescriptive, and there is ancillary data sets. That's how deep the algorithm goes. Take a look at the JD that is submitted to you, and you will not see most of the JDs have an equal employment opportunity kind of disclaimer. Amazon was the first one to actually put it in ink saying that we are an equal employment opportunity guy, right? Here's how the normal JD looks like. तेरे को आता है? Apply कर. Here's the better job description. This is the problem that we are trying to solve. This is what you will get out of this. This is why you should apply. And this is where your hiring processes will look like. We suck at giving clarity. That's the basic problem. What is the reason why we suck? Because we suck as an ecosystem to write better job description. We don't have intent to solve for it. But we have intent to solve for hiring. So congratulations.
Skeleton of worms coming out there. Ramesh, if you want to add to that.
Only one part is there is definitely yes. JDs does not convey everything that you want them to do once they join, right? Because the experience of or culture of the company, because HD2 JDs, if you take it, everybody say ki, okay, LLD you need to know or HLD you need to know, these what, because they are going by industry standard. And actually I can tell you one interesting example. So the same problem, as in we are saying ki JD we are actually sending that standard and everything. I have actually put in one complete day to write a JD, because in my intro calls, right, most of the questions that people ask, I thought that, okay, chalo, TK, why should I even waste time? Rather, I would put everything in JD and I'll give a very beautiful JD. And to my surprise, as simple as first question, how many of you have asked for what is your tech stack as a question in your interviews?
अरे सच बोलो यार, मौका है.
I think it's a majority, basically, that's
agreed.
one of it, right? We have actually given a beautiful diagram of all the tech stack, how we do it, or what all problems that we are solving, everything. Literally, I don't really think there is any intent to in general read, because we don't look at hiring also from a candidate perspective as well on what I want, what is there to offer. It's a job, basically, that's what we are looking at. We are not looking at our career as saying that this is the problem that I want to solve, or am I passionate about it, is it even worth giving interview? It comes later, saying that chalo theek hai, 3-4 round hone ke baad, then let's first talk about saying that yaar, what is the problem that you are solving, what is the scale, what is the tech problems and everything, right? And that unless it changes and where you put value to your time as well and where you seek that information, it becomes tougher organization also to provide that clarity. Yeah. But second thing is JD, I don't really think can't do it, a textual information, right? I'm very sure most of the people don't read textbooks as well, rather they watch videos, right? And I think maybe we need to invest more on how JDs are provided. Maybe textual information is not even consumed at this point of time. Maybe a video JD is what we require right now. Such innovations need to happen.
So I'll just counter that. You know why video JDs will fail? And it has failed massively. 2 reasons why. Your ability to comprehend what visually said versus notes that you will take, you have a subtitle issue now. Part 1. Part 2, Google will never rank the algorithm to show subtitles of that. 3 is even if you get that data set, how are you even going to say, oh, you know what, 3 seconds mein 20 minutes pe ye bahut mast point bola hai. Kya karu main uska? Right? So it's an issue with, we have curated this system of handicapping our own people and then asking them to have better interactions with us. How? So it's just not one part of it. I want all of you, whoever is going to look for jobs, have better job descriptions, ask better questions. I want us to solve by providing more contextual data. For example, if for most of you, if it is important that you look at the tech stack, I will provide that. For some of you, where benefits are more important, I'll provide that. For some of you, you want to know, is the company leadership good? I'll provide that. For you, some who want to know, hey, is my team cool? I'll provide that. But if I give you that bouquet of options, you can actually now see what you want to seek, rather than me providing you just with templated information. That's the future that you should be looking at.
Sure. I think all of the stories, we need to have a JD which talks about hiring for a JD writer.
Yes.
Right.
And that job should not be released.
I think if I can take a second to just summarize what you all spoke, I think if there's one takeaway for all of us is very loud and clear. The hiring manager should own the JD end to end, and I think the minute you outsourced it to the recruiter, I think they are good in so many other ways, but not. I think they shouldn't even giving the bits and pieces. I think the hiring manager should own it completely end to end.
That's your own baby, so you might as well put it out. Great. Coming to the next question, which is the ATS algorithm is doing typically a keyword match, right? For a position, let's say that typically at least 300 applications for a position. For bigger brands, it may be even 2,000 applications for one position. So essentially, there's a keyword match happening, and that's not accurate most of the times. Do you think because of that we are losing out on potential good talent?
I think, see, for large organization, I think the only way you like it or not is it has to be a keyword match, right? And we rely heavily on it. And if there are, see, keyword, it's not just, there could be around 30 different keywords, right? Even if we are not able to find even 10% of it, even 3 or 4% matching on it, right? Then definitely we feel that there's no way that we can, there's no way, it's humanly impossible to go through around 10,000 resumes.
Sure.
And that problem, I don't think so is easily solvable. And if there's a match, I think, see, as job applicants, I think this is again my humble advice, you can't have one generic CV or just blasting out to 100 people. It has to be customized. I'm not saying, see here, let's not take keyword stuffing as a bad thing. The minute you read through the entire job description, it is your job to see to it that you customize a little bit and see to it that there are at least around 10% of things which is matching. Otherwise, there's no way in a large organization that it will even get shortlisted. I don't know how even you'll do in a startup, right? I don't think so people will call each and every candidate and ask him, okay, fine, this is what you really mean.
Right.
And this is not a scalable.
Right, very interesting. How many of you customize your resumes? If you send different resumes to different organizations, a good 70-80%, great. Victor, you were smiling. I'm sure you got something.
I think very interesting data set. Because this is a tech audience, and I'll first compliment Bhai on what he was trying to say. Here's what is going to happen. My friends out there at Amazon, and there are a bunch of friends out here who are ex-Amazon themselves, they get a volume of 10,000 resumes every month, right? 9,000 out of them is crap. Right? Now that's the data set that you're dealing with. So if they don't have it's not how many people can actually sift through the resumes. They need an intelligent system that can actually do the thing. True, +1, volume. Get that part. Here's the negative of it. They have a different versioning of the resume every time, correct? But you got to understand, they're techies. What's there to write on the resume? And I'll back this up with data, right? Designed, architected, engineered, helped, brought up, shot up, solved bugs. These are the derivatives, 7-8 derivatives that you can write at best, correct? क्या कहानी लिखोगे भाई? एक ही है, एक ही शाहरुख है, एक ही डांस चल रहा है, जवान है, देखो जवान, बस वही चल रहा है. Now, if you take that resume and pass it through the system, our algorithms today cannot justify the actual meaning of context of words put together to see that this guy actually did some tangible, impactful work out there. Now, the negative of the equation. The algorithm says if these 5 parameters are met, you are in. If these 5 parameters are not met, you are out. If we don't do this, right? If we don't rely on the system, we can't go through the volume. Makes sense. If we are just not looking beyond the resume, there is so many stories of these people out there जिसने अच्छा काम किया है. If these guys suck at creating resumes, we गलती किया भाई. अच्छा engineer था, खराब English लिखता है. Now I'll back this up. How many engineers out there have more than 2,000 connections on LinkedIn? Put your hand up. Awesome. Put your hand up if you are at plus 5,000. Put your hand up if you have more than 20 recommendations. Put your hand up if you have given more than 20 recommendations. Right? Aaya na baad mein. Look at the crowd. If your number is dropping that bad, can you see the maths making sense? It doesn't. And then you expect them to put 20 different versions of the resume, which is not practically possible. They can't craft better stories. Here's where the math says. The math says you need to complement a system with human in the loop. You need to educate recruiters to have better conversations. And we as recruiters suck. You know why? Because there are only 3 categories of conversations we have. 1, we are a classist. 2, we are a racist. 3, we are economist. What is your salary? Thank you.
सर अब ऐसा बोलो जो लोग रोने वाले हैं अभी बता रहा हूँ.
No, so here's what the conversation begins like. Hey, which company do you work with? Classist. B2B, B2C, क्या करता है नहीं करता, fintech खत्म. Okay. Oh, perfect. Which technology are you working with? Racist. Oh, just because you work in .NET Core, do you suck? No, it's still one of the top 3 technologies out there. क्यों? क्यों भगाऊँ उसको मैं? Right? And here's the last part. So, what's your notice period? खत्म? Awesome. Here's the real conversation. The real conversation is, and I know John is sitting out there, I'll not quote him, but here's the real conversation of a real recruiter. A real recruiter will go, Sunil, I want to learn a little bit more about the kind of work that you're doing out there. And what is sexy for you at this point in time? Is it stage, scale, meaningfulness, opportunity cost, or what is that will give you a kick in your next job? What are you looking forward to? Tell me a little bit about that story. That guy doesn't have enough material to process his engineering background. That's a fact. But notes तो ले, कुछ अच्छा माल तो दे मेरे को समझने के लिए कि क्या कहानी है इसकी. अपने स्टोरी में कौन साइड हीरो बनता भाई? लेकिन हम रिक्रूटर्स हैं, हम तो वही करेंगे, हमको तो बस यही करना है. Notice period, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then recruiters have a self-inflicted, inflicted pain of self-updated self-worth. What does that mean? A recruiter goes into call and he's like, let me ask you MongoDB questions, right? Tell me a little bit about of O and N, and then tell me a little bit about the time complexity of this situation. Did you do this? Did you do that? Infra में क्या किया? Kubernetes में क्या किया? घंटा समझ में आया उसको? कुछ नहीं आया उसको. But उसको सवाल पूछने में अच्छा लगता है. Why? Ego entered the conversation. Here's the reverse part of this. These techies, respect for you, but please take this feedback very, very easily on yourself and still very hard on yourself. Here's the thing. The next time a recruiter calls, you judge his intellect immediately. Right? अबे तेरे को क्या समझ में आएगा मैं क्या किया Kubernetes में? क्या समझ में आता तेरे को? Correct? Wait, there's more. Here's the thing. What you should do is take a step back, have a decent conversation with that guy, because that guy's job or that lady's job is just to process that resume, have enough material so that guys like Sunil and everyone else are able to process that resume and make meaningful decisions. Don't let your ego enter the conversation. Here's the second part that you will do. Because the guy asked you shitty questions. Oh, I triggered.
Fire alarm.
Who's smoking?
I think.
Thank you.
You're on fire.
Yeah, some recruiters got offended.
So,
निकलो यहाँ से यार.
So this is going to be the last slide. Techies do a shitty job of assessing the company basis 3 parameters. Number 1, the quality of conversation with the recruiter. नहीं पता उसको. Let it be. Techies do a shitty identification job of identifying with the job description which is presented. थोड़ा अपना research कर लो भाई. हम गधे हैं, हमें पता है. मैं मानता हूँ, तुम तो smart थे, कुछ अच्छा काम कर लेते. And 3 is until you go to the next round, don't ask stupid questions. What is the tech stack? क्या करेगा लेके भाई? उसको थोड़ी पता है, उसको तो 5 चीज दिया गया, वो engines मारेगा तेरे पास, तू कुछ और use करेगा. क्या होगा उससे? Right? I'm saying be a little humble in the conversation for both parties. One, the recruiters need to have a little more decency in talking to you. You as techies, please give a benefit of doubt to that bacha who is just trying to justify his job. But that's it. Please be respectful.
Thank you, Victor, for that. आपने मेरे को, yeah, you can have a round of applause. You've given me topics for 3 of my reels, so thank you. Ramesh, if you want to add something to this, I have one more question with me, which is somewhere the feedback loop is also broken. Let's say a candidate goes through an interview process. At best, they'll hear if they're selected or not. That's also, there's a lot of conditions to that. But do they get the insight? What is it that they missed out on?
Sure, maybe I'll take the first question and then this. See, ATS has a problem, right? Typically, bigger corporates and startups, for them, both of them are very different because, yes, influx of, depends on number of positions that you are hiring for, and second thing, influx of resumes as well, right? So, for startups, definitely there is a lesser dependence on ATS, rather there is a more dependence on, in general, hiring managers looking at the resumes directly, or let us say even recruiters looking at it. But the biggest problem there is that it does not truly represent what they have worked on. Right? Typically, nobody in general puts enough effort to even make a simple Netlify website, right? Because most of the right now freshers, right, in general, have their own simple website, or let us say their own portfolio page, right? They at least test their intent, because resume has a very specific format. It's not very expressive, but wherever there are different formats in which they are trying to do it, definitely they get a lot more insight, because we can understand more. And there's one more part of culture and skill in both of it, right? So in primary, at least in our organization, so because where core values is what is assessed and then skill comes later. It's very tough to assess, and majority of rejections are also on core values than I think this thing, because for everybody to understand, see, why are we hiring first of all? as a company, we believe in certain beliefs and certain way of operating, or let's say what we feel are the core values we live and die by, right? So at the same time, we have some customers like whom we are trying to help and scale them up, and we are trying to make it operate with this core value as a belief system, and we are looking for somebody who can come and be partner with us and go in that journey a long way. We are not looking at saying कि अभी Java के लिए कोई developer चाहिए and then come and code for 6 months and then leave, right? But rather we want to see them as future leaders, and that's the place where we start from. Further, to even understand saying कि where do they stand in this journey is just tough, JD, right? That's where invest more self in your GitHub profiles or having your own portfolio websites. That opens up quite a lot of opportunity for us also to explore more about you. And coming to your second question about feedback loop, see, this is one thing that we have observed, and majority of time, right, as I mentioned, core values is one thing, and skill. Skill, wherever we see labs, typically many of the startups that I know as well does that, is that in the first round, if somebody is lacking something, we do provide that feedback, and we tell them saying that, hey, this is what you are doing wrong. Maybe practice more of DS and come back. Or if DS is not even relevant, brush up these concepts and come back. But majority of the time, what we see it as that amount of effort that gets put in to fix this during that particular interview process also, right, is very less. And because they are in a hurry to get a job. But rather, I would not want to look at it that way. Rather, if somebody is actually investing in interview process through you, right? So definitely that need to result into a positive outcome as well, where they are putting more effort and coming back. And that's where interview process also has gone a very different shift in the last 5 years, that typical DS interview questions, right? So everybody used to be first, second, third round DS interview questions, and then comes something of that worth. Rather, I think many people are right now looking at in the first round itself, talking about what the true work going to look like, because right now our interview process is such that whatever we would do on a normal day-to-day basis, we'll pick the same problem. We'll educate about the company as well to that problem. At the same time, we try to provide a glimpse of what it is to work with people, because at the end of it, skill culture is one thing. Can we work together to solve a bigger problem? That's the thing that we want to assess, and that works brilliantly for us. But it's very subject to assessment still, right? So, but candidates also need to be open-minded about it, to in general show true self of theirs, rather than trying to hide and trying to pass an interview, right? Truly see if at all you fit there, and do not try to hide on saying that, okay, if at all I tell this particular keyword, what will happen, anything, right? Try to solve problems together, and that will give a better outcome. Is what I believe.
Thank you for that. Yep, thank you. Sunil, any particular innovation that you've done with your hiring at Amazon, which probably was an insight, which has really worked wonders?
Okay, no, there are a couple of things. I think what you have done, especially for our organization, until unless we give a formal or an informal kind of a feedback, there's no way that we'll close the loop in our system, right? And some people prefer it informally, where they call the recruiter is like, hey, it didn't work out, and can you just give me? And that's more, it's not documented, but they can tell you, looking at all the feedback given by 5 or 6 different interviewers, saying these are the 8 or 9 things where we really felt there was a gap. And some of them really insist on, can you give me a written kind of a feedback? In that case, it is more concise, and it's again politically right. But I think if you're really interested to know what your feedback is, I think an informal kind of feedback mechanism really works for you in the long run. And if we feel that you're not right for my particular organization, we also refer to the other organization, and we call it recycle. Nice. Okay, so if you're not able to fit into this organization, we say, I think you'll be a good fitment into that organization, and that itself, and they'll go through the entire new loop all over again over there. And second point which I want to touch is, this is again not really spoken about at length, the importance of soft skills, right? Irrespective of whether you're a techie or a sales or a BD or an investor, whatever it is, do not underestimate the importance of soft skills, ability to express yourself. If you go to an Amazon interview or a Google interview, you know that you'll be quizzed on leadership principles, right? The whole world knows about it, and if you haven't even taken the effort to go through those leadership principles, or if you don't know what are the 10 most common questions that Google asks as a part of the simple quizzes, right? Okay, fine, there's a bus going from here to airport, and there are how many buses will, so there are some standard 100, 150 kind of questions out there, and if you don't even know how to answer that, then you haven't done your homework well, right? So I think being well prepared and giving a lot of importance to our soft skills is, you could be the best techie, but if I look at the data, almost 50% of them have failed because they don't have the right kind of soft skills. That is equally important.
Interesting. I think you've brought up this whole aspect of soft skills, upskilling in general. Yeah, you want to share?
One question
Please,
that
please.
I
Yeah.
have to audience as well. How many of you actually seek out for the feedback? Because to be honest, while we provide, and how do you seek out? Anybody actually can mention, is it LinkedIn or is it during interview or is it to recruiter?
वही गलत है, वही
Louder?
गलत है.
Yeah, LinkedIn, recruiter, maybe LinkedIn, how many? Okay, recruiter,
Mostly.
Perfect.
interviewer in the interview. Sure. So interviewer and LinkedIn ideally, because recruiter, right? At the end of it, poor guys, like they are the middleman, and kya kare? As in, because they can't give you the, they have not seen 1 hour mein what happened, right? So only interviewer has seen. So that's why LinkedIn and during the interview, right, are the two places. During the interview as well, one of the definite feedback is that, see, many times when providing feedback, people accept, they don't debate. If I just tell you saying that, hey, you are not thinking about LLD this way, they say, okay, I'll improve. But good conversations that I had with the people whom I have given feedback is that, Ramesh, I taught this way, but okay, if at all improved version of mine, what would have that person done? And what is your expectation? यहाँ से वहाँ तक पहुँचे, and then we have a 10-15 minute elaborate good discussion. That gives me confidence also to actually, then right, we'll also see that right now it might not be translating, but later let's figure it out, let's be in touch and everything. It translates a long way for many of my people whom we started as interview and then later became a mentor-mentee, right? So it translates, but do not stop debating or just don't stop at a shallow level of what is my feedback. Debate on it, understand truly what it means, what need to happen if that need to change. If we are not going to that level of depth, right, it's just a namesake, good to have impression. You are trying to form impression saying that, yeah, I am here to learn, right? Because that's not what it should be meaning for debate. That's what I would say.
Sure, I think that's a very good point. The, getting feedback is also an art.
Right, definitely.
Right, it's not just about how I've done, it's much more deeper than that. Victor?
So सच बोलते हैं, ठीक है? इसके बाद दोस्ती खत्म हो जाएगी, ठीक है? तो सच ऐसा है कि over the last 5 years, there's only one thing which has changed, and that is पहले feedback था मज़ा नहीं आया, to अब कि भाई हम कुछ दे देते हैं तुम्हें. And I'm saying this as a fact. Go ahead and talk to anyone who has been in this recruiting game. The feedback that we used to get was मज़ा नहीं आया. No one knows what the definition of मज़ा is. बस मज़ा नहीं आया. क्या नहीं आया? बस मज़ा नहीं आया. क्या करें मैं उसका? And then you will ask me a question, tell me the feedback. What am I supposed to give you? Garbage. Now, here's what needs to change, right? Both Ramesh and Sunil are making sense, but here's the basic gap in the ecosystem. Peter Drucker and I have constantly built this philosophy, which is like, people don't do what you are expecting them to do. People will do what you measure. If you just tie the hiring manager's variable to his HSAT ratio, to his employee or interview effectiveness ratio, you will see better feedbacks. That's the same gap that you see on the recruiter's dashboard. It is just garbage. We just don't measure that way. If you have to talk about innovation, this should be the innovation, right? Part one. Part two is we love mixing it up and softening the blow. You suck. I can't say that. You suck. Would you like a feedback saying you suck? You won't. What do you need? You know, so we talked about it, we had a very interesting discussion, and over time we realized our values don't align. What is that supposed to be? Kya karu main iska? All it helps me is go to a standing store and then have a 90 and then possibly go somewhere and die. It tells me nowhere. It has not helped me elevate my intellectual level, my knowledge thirst, my throughput of my network, anything, right? What should actually happen is this, that someone should be actually giving you a 3:1. If you don't know, read this up. It's called a golden ratio of giving a feedback. There are 3 soft blows to 1 hard blow. 3 soft blows to 1 hard blow. That's the actual maths out there, right? Statistical report out there. So that's part one. Part two is when you have got this feedback, how do you present this? Do you actually can tangibly put out? And all of you have been rejected once in a while, right? Awesome, brilliant. Would you prefer this sequence wherein you got rejected and someone said, these are the 3 blogs you need to read, these are the 2 courses that I recommend, and these are the 3 things that you could have changed in your algorithm? Would you prefer that? but it needs time from my side. Why should I give you that time? Because I have 10 other things to do in my company, correct? Should I invest that? I won't. So then the second part of it becomes like, what is the shortest convenient path for me to provide you feedback? And that's where the world is, convenience. What they should have is an interview experience center. An interview experience center should be managed by the hiring manager and the recruiters together aligned to one goal, जहाँ पे उनका variable is tied to this particular metric. That's where this game will change. He's asking about, Ramesh is saying, you know, feedback को question करो. I just got rejected. Do you think I'm in a right mindset to even process what you're telling me? No, I'm not. Do you think I will question you? No. What will I do? I'll just ease down.
Victor, is it feasible to do this at a big scale?
Yeah, I did.
Sunil, Ramesh?
I did. I have done it. At Whatfix, I have done it. At Hubilo, I was trying to do it. Right? I have done it at Mu Sigma as well. And it takes intent. Would it scale? I don't know. But at least I know that I was walking the right path. All of you guys are sitting here and giving utopian talk on, hey, you know what, we could have done this. Do something, then talk. I at least am walking that path. I'm asking you to show more intent than garbage talk. Act first. Help 5 guys in your funnel just to have the most stellar feedback experience. That's it. Just 5 guys. They will have better conversion scores with you. They will refer 5 more people. The word on the street would be like, there is this guy Sunil, yaar, बहुत सही feedback देता है. He changed my life. There is this guy Ramesh, पता है, यार मारा थप्पड़ मजा आया. मस्त आदमी भाई, कड़क पड़ा मेरे को. Right? I think we should invest there.
Sure. I
Only
have
one thing there is that yes, it is possible to do it at scale because this, as a culture, is imbibed starting from all the leadership.
Correct.
In our company, right? If I look at it, founders do this or we do this, and over time you get better at it. Let us say, right? I might not spend 15 minutes with a person, but a very crisp feedback saying that this need to happen, and give an action item, and if the person does it and come back, right? It can actually come out to be a long-term relationship as well because
Absolutely.
see, the fact is that there are only a number of companies. Talent pool also is this much only, and all of you are going to cross path with everyone because right now, right, as a leadership, I think you guys would see that because the leadership level, right, most of the time you would resort to your network only because in general that's where you would find most of the answers that you are looking for, and so try to in general invest in those relationships as well, or try to learn from every person whom you are interacting. Right now, you guys are sitting sitting here like I think maybe 400 odd folks, right? So it's not just we who have something to give, and everybody definitely has something or other to in general give. So every interaction of interview, do not take it as job aaya hai nahi. That's not the goal. Rather, it's one way to learn from each other. If you put that particular thing in your mind at the same time, as a culture, if at all, we also start looking at it as we are understanding each other, can we grow each other together?
Sure.
If that as a culture is imbibed, then I think at a company also we are able to at least scale at this level. Hopefully to scale in a further level as well.
Sure. Sunil, I'll ask you one question before we move to the audience. You spoke about upskilling as well, right? How important do you think it is for techies to upskill, given the rate of disruption that's happening in the industry right now?
Yeah, and I think I keep speaking about it. I think the rate at which the technologies are getting disrupted, earlier on it used to be around 4 to 5 years, and it's not even around 18 to around 24 months, right? And fortunately or unfortunately, you are in this kind of a space and you have chosen this space with your eyes and ears wide open that I want to be a techie, right? And you are not the only one. Everyone else, doctors, they need to keep updating themselves on a daily basis. At least for you, it might be once a quarter or once in 6 to 12 months. And there are 2 ways of doing it. One is the company telling you, hey, you know what, this is the technology shifts which are happening and this is the kind of a modernization that we'll be doing in next 6 to 12 months, and let's together get geared up for it. In that case, I think you'll be one among those 100 guys and you might not be ending up with the right kind of a job whenever it opens up. Another one is to be, I think I do believe in the fact that you have to be proactive, and thanks to Google, you know where the industry is heading, and do not wait for the company to invest in you in terms of upskilling. As a part of your career, I think you should be able to invest 5 to 10% of the money that you're earning in your own upskilling, because there is this myth out there that company should pay for all my upskilling, right? For every upskilling thing, I think if I look at Indian data, I think they are not even around 10% of the people who are doing on their own. They expect the company to be doing everything to them. But I feel if you look at in US, when I was in Microsoft in US, I was surprised to see that in a career journey of around 35 years, I've seen people, first 15 years in my own team, I had a guy who was a Harley Davidson mechanic. He did a MS SQL kind of a course for around 9 months, and he became a IT tech support engineer, and after around 3 years, he went and became something else, right? And they're completely passion driven, and they invest in terms of their own upskilling. I think until unless we as a country changed on it, that we don't put this whole thing on someone else's head saying upskilling is not my job, it has to be company's job, then you'll keep remaining where you are. I think you have to take the onus of where you want to reach, and only then I think we'll all together succeed.
Love that answer. Don't wait, for upskilling. I think the time right now is the right time. And Sunil, when you said you have experience of 35 years, I thought you were 35 years.
Handsome.
Yeah.
What's the secret to looking young?
Exercise.
I think it's diet, not
Diet?
exercise. Yeah, that's the recent revolution.
Right.
It's not exercise, it's the diet.
The work always happens in the kitchen, not so much in the gym as such.
Exactly.
All right, with that, I'm going to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll have a volunteer pass on your mic. This is your best opportunity to ask your questions. We have the who's who of the tech industry out here, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Yes, sir. Go for it.
Thanks. All right. Check.
Go ahead.
All right. So I think that was a good panel. Wonderful, actually, not good. And Anmol, I'm going to look forward for a couple of reels from you.
Thank you.
Over the LinkedIn. So I just, coming from the upskilling side, I had a few thoughts that I wanted to share across before I put my question forward. If the demand is X today, the supply that's there in the market is probably 20X. The issue that I see with a lot of people who are trying to start their career is the fact that they're not able to package themselves. They're not able to put it across right in front of the recruiters. Like Victor said, rightfully, recruiters don't have an idea about what that role is in entirety. But you have to give that convincing answer to the recruiter as to why you deserve to get that opportunity or land that job. Especially with techies that I see is three things that they lack. One, they lack the ability to communicate. Something that I've seen throughout my 12, 13 years of my experience. They don't speak. Their work speaks, but then they don't speak. They don't show their work out. This is something that I have seen which people lack. Second is they lack creativity a little bit when it comes to putting their work out. This is where I see people who are really good coders are unable to talk about it in a creative manner as to what problem have I solved in the past. And the third thing is that they are just running after a job and not looking for what is really their desire. What is it that they are looking to achieve? Right? These three things is something that I feel is missing from people who are looking at kicking start their career, right?
Very well articulated. If you have a question as a follow-up question.
Yes.
Yeah.
The follow-up question is basically to all three panelists that are there. Right now, you added a lot of pointers, right? Like probably if you could help the audience out here in answering these three bits as to how you can cover up these three things, package it well in that 1 or 2 page resume that they have. What is it that they can do to probably get shortlisted faster? Or, one of the tools that we always recommend is go connect with people on LinkedIn. Go for referrals, right? Which a lot of people don't know about. Right, and I think one of you mentioned about how, Victor mentioned about how recommendations and endorsements matter a lot, right? Along with this, is there anything else that, freshers have to do or people who are kickstarting their career have to do?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Your 20x pattern is a little wrong. It's much worse. US produces 1 lakh engineers for a 15 trillion economy. Facts. India produces 15 lakh engineers for a 3.5 trillion economy, right? India alone posted 298,000, if I'm not wrong, 238,000 jobs on LinkedIn last month, right? Where do you think is the slump? It's because there is supply and demand equation is now calibrated. That calibrated is a good engineer still being poached, and an average engineer or someone who is new in the game, they need a differentiator. Now here's the thing. LinkedIn is one part of it. As you see the advent of technology, you will see that they are becoming aggregators at best, which means that they will go to your GitHub and look at your Foursquare, you know, how many Git commits, etc. What is your pattern? That's one part of it. Then there's the Stack Overflow part of it. If you don't know, check out Octohunt, OCTOHUNT. If you know Octohunt, Octohunt will help a recruiter see the engineer by the keyword with the location, and I can see the forks, the commit, the gist, and then I see if this guy is available or not. Now, if I'm a smart recruiter, what will I do? I will first look at all of those people who are hireable, whose commits are up, whose gits are up, and there's tangible acumen protecting the representation rights for a skill or a job that you're going for. So that's part one. Two, Netlify. You don't put your projects out there, right? Now, the point that you said wrong, and I'm calling it out, right? The point that you said wrong is engineers are not supposed to speak. They are supposed to articulate. There's a difference between speaking and communicating and articulation. So that's part one. Two, don't confuse content and communication, right? These are two different subsets. An engineer is supposed to say clearly, what have I done, how have I done, and does my 0, 1 Boolean logic and my code actually says a story. Now here's what you are doing wrong. You should actually take that story, represent a fantastic reach out, and that's where you suck. That's the fact. You suck at seeking connections, inroads into a conversation saying that, hey Sunil, my name is Victor, here's my resume. To kya karu, bhajia? Right? Here's the other pitch. Sunil, my name is Victor. I've been chasing AWS for some time now. I love what you guys are doing. Here's what I found. There's this bug. I solved it. Your rasterization and the localization program that you're running is costing us about 12,000 more. I can actually reduce it by 26%. Here's a sample of my code. I don't need nothing in return. All I need is a feedback on does my code work. Now you have my interest. You don't write such emails, right? And I'm saying this, if you don't market yourself, and that's my closing line, if you don't market yourself, no one else is going to market for you. कहानियों का एक दस्तूर होता है, वो खत्म होने के बाद भी चलती रहती है, right? As freshers, here's what you need to do, or at any level. You see a job, you apply for it, get rejected, pass that information, that learning to someone else. You see a job that you were rejected on screening, tell that about that job to someone else. You did succeed on something, make sure that you are sharing that knowledge. You know what you do? You protect that information. That's wrong. You don't stand by your own community. What is wrong with you guys? Right? And then you expect, मेरा resume कोई और दे. क्यों देखे भाई? तू अपने घर पे रह, मैं अपने घर पे रहता हूँ. That's the beauty of this part. So, three things. Sell the right way, with meat shots, with value proposition. Two, be visible in the forums that actually count. If you have a GitHub, great. If you have a Stack Overflow, great. How many open source contribution did you do? Did you do actually something relevant for him? Did you actually spend a hackathon for yourself? Own hackathon, created a hackathon for yourself. 4 दोस्तों को मिलाओ, एक कुछ तो बनाओ. कुछ तो किया होगा, क्यों नहीं किया? Right? No code में करना है, AI ML में करना है, कुछ तो कर. Right? If you don't upskill around this, here's another thing. Just 1 second on this one. Gartner says that the half-life of a skill right now is 18 months, which is what Sunil was trying to reference to. Half-life of a skill that you learn. Half-life is the degree of dissonance of your wavelength that is going out there on a physics concept. And Gartner says that 50% of your work would actually be in a no-code interface one way or the other in the next 3 years. How will you survive? Food for thought. Think about it. You have 0 differentiators. You're not upskilling. 70% of the companies are saying that I will invest in growing you, but did you actually invest in yourself? No. Then why should I care? And if more resources are there, you don't do nothing about it and you expect someone to help you out. No, boss. There are no free lunches in this world today. मेरे घर आ जाना, मैं खिलाऊंगा, बाकी नहीं खिलाएगा. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor, for that. We have time for one more question. If you can quickly stand up, shout it out, and keep it crisp, please. Yeah, go ahead. Whoever wants to stand up, shout it out. Yeah.
To the lady.
अरे दोनों बैठ गए.
दोनों बैठ गए यार. Yeah, go for it.
We are trying to build an e-commerce and marketing agency. Fortunately, we are able to find talented and experienced people into the agency. But after giving that opportunity, after some time, because of their experience and talent, they are taking advantage of
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. So I'll make it quick. One, what is the headcount of your company right now? 22, perfect. Remember this maths. In any early stage company, there are only 3 pockets of people that should be in your organization. The innovator, the hustler, and someone who is a pragmatic thinker for you. The thinker, the hustler, or that guy. If you are able to quantify these 3 people, then your hiring would be right. Part 1. Part 2 is, why should they not take advantage of that position?
Maybe I
Why?
think we should define what is advantage.
Exactly. What is the definition of advantage? Right? Are they taking salary from you and not working? That means you are poorly orchestrated on people and process and technology. Your problem. 2, did you give them clarity? If you don't, then that's your problem. 3, if the kid is seeking clarity and not doing job on the fly, your problem. 4, if the kid is doing the job, you're not giving the feedback, your problem. 90% of the problem.
Yeah, someone please give him some water. Please go ahead. Yeah.
90% of the problem is your problem. The only 10% of the problem is, did the kid do the job? And it's your job to get it done as well. So 99% of the problem is your problem.
Consider that 90% problem. What is the solution you suggest?
Clarity. Start with clarity. Here's what I expect you to do. This is how we will communicate. These are the measurements and the outcomes that we want. That's it. That's what an engineer wants. नोशन पे लिखना उसका बोर्ड देना उसको जीरा पे कहीं तो लेके जाएगा ना उसको दिस इज माई स्प्रिंट बोर्ड दीज आर माई वर्क फ्लोज दिस इज द स्टेटस ऑल आई नीड इज स्टेटस एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आई विल नॉट डिस्टर्ब यू 2 I'll give you feedback on which code check-in happens when and it will be reviewed by someone. That's it. That's how simple it gets. But these 2 guys are gentlemen out there and they will...
Sunil, if you want to talk about firing in specific, what's the best way to fire?
Oh God.
I just asked this very randomly, guys. Yeah.
Don't hire might be the
Don't hire.
Don't hire.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think firing is not that easy. Everyone knows. I'm telling you, the guys who are getting fired, they know that they're getting fired. I'm telling you, it's not a surprise. I'm not talking about mass layoffs. I'm not talking about scenario where the whole industry is going through a mess. But the guy definitely knows that he's getting fired because he would have got all the cues for last 6 months. He would have been on a performance improvement plan, and he knows that he's not meeting the bar. So it's a gradual process. It's not like a surprise for any of them.
Right. And probably more be empathetic while you're doing it.
Obviously.
No, I think I will add to that one. There's only one right way of firing. Be honest. Just that one, right? Be honest. Communicate, educate, make him self-aware of the consequences that are going to happen. And finally, if it is going to happen, don't call it firing, call it letting go of a situation. You are doing more harm by keeping that guy in the system, choking him out, and you will actually take that guy and say, भाई मैं गलत था, मैं तेरे साथ काम नहीं कर पाया, एक काम कर. These are the 4 companies that I recommend. Go there, be happy, right? The moment you start doing this, where you are knowing that these are the people that I could not manage, you suck again. 99% problem. Send them to somewhere else, right? Do that the right way, ethically. There's only one way of doing it right, ethically, right with information at the right point in time. Not solving for the causality, solve for the outcome, right? What is that you don't want? Start there. You don't want to fire people, amazing. Start with that thought process. How do you make them successful then? That's it. That's the moat of the conversation. Be honest, be humble, be real.
Thank you, Victor, for that.
Start from the position.
Yes, Ramesh.
Only one other thing is, do not start from the position of power.
Yeah.
Rather start from the position of empathy, where we both took a call saying that I saw a long-term relationship in this particular company, and you also saw that, okay, you will stay here for long term. For these reasons, it's not happening. We both are sorry, part ways. That's the thing. But do not start from the position of power. That's where I've seen many of the things going wrong. Right?
Yeah. So you got your answer, right? If you can't fire properly, it's your problem. Right. I think I'm overstepping. Yeah, we are done with the questions. Do we have time for one more question? All right. I think the panel will be available post the conference, so make sure you network with them. Can we have a huge round of applause for some amazing, straight from the gut, there's so much of information. I think every techie should go through this discussion, yes or no? Right, it's going to be a massive learning for them. So thank you so much for joining in, and I think they deserve another big round of applause.